What's going on, everybody? This is Back Alley Garage. My name's Caleb, and today I'm going to be rebuilding the brakes on my 1974 Datsun 620 pickup truck. I found this truck in a field probably 2-3 months ago, and since then I have been collecting parts and trying to get it back to where it was. And the plan for it is I'm going to leave the ratty exterior, but on the other side of the garage I have a Z24 motor out of a Datsun 720. So it's just an updated version of this truck, and it makes about 30 more horsepower. It's nothing crazy, but I have the motor and a 5-speed transmission to go into this truck. It'll bolt directly in, it'll be easy. But today, like I said, I'm going to be rebuilding the brakes on this. And I have a big box of brakes from Rock Auto, and I have these new tires. When I had this one mounted, they didn't get it back on the bead, so I'm going to have to take this one back in, have them rebead it. But this is just the beginning of a ratty shop truck build. I'm going to rebuild the brakes first. I have a master cylinder and brake booster on its way, and then I'm going to run brake lines once I get all the brakes and all the parts put in. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull this tire off, and I will walk you guys through what's going on. So, I have the wheel off, and typically, when doing something like this, of course it's a drum brake setup, so you'd have to take the drum off. But when I found this truck, all 4 brakes were stuck. So what I did out in the field, I didn't have a ton of tools, so I took the wheels off and I used a pretty decent sized hammer to beat out all the rust. And I knocked the drums off so I could tow it home and get it up on the trailer. So what we're going to do now is, first off, I'm going to work on getting the shoes out. Now, I've never done brakes on a truck like this, so I'm not 100% sure what all I have to do. But I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to get these off, and I will show you guys when I figure it out. I did a little bit of looking, and everything's hidden by the hub here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to knock off our dust cap here, and then I'm going to figure out what size nut holds our hub on. So it should only be hand tight, but there's no telling. I mean, the truck is 50 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and try to pull off the hub and see if that will give me more access. So I'm going to go ahead and just tap it right down here and try to knock our dust cap off. I'm going to do that all the way around so I don't bend the dust cap. And there we go. So, it honestly has looked like somebody had begun working on this truck before I got it. And it looks like someone's abandoned project, because everything wheel bearings and front suspension wise, for the most part, is fairly new. All the bushings are in good shape. I mean, the steering works really well. The steering box and all that, it's not covered in grease, it's not covered in grime. So either the truck was taken really good care of before it was left, or somebody got in here before me and began to work on it. But from what I am seeing, I have to pull out a cotter pin right here. We're going to go ahead and see how hard that's going to be real quick. I'm going to actually grab a pair of pliers from over here. Alrighty, so I'm gonna attempt to reuse this cotter pin. So I'm gonna bend that back, and I'm gonna grab the end of our cotter pin right here, and I'm just gonna slip it right out, and there we go. So that cotter pin is definitely reusable, and it looks almost brand new, honestly. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what size socket this is. And it's looking like it's going to be a fairly big socket, and it also doesn't look like a traditional socket. So let's see. A lot of excess grease in here though. There we go. So, yeah, this is only hand tight here. should spin off nice and easy. There we go. So that's just our retainer. And then here is our actual nut. It is a 27 millimeter, but as it should be, it is just hand tight. It comes right off. I don't even need a ratchet to get it off. So we'll go ahead and spin this guy all the way off, like so. And we're just gonna set that whole assembly to the side. Now, yep. So there we go. Our hub is off. And the bearings look like they're in really great condition actually, which is fairly surprising. So now that that's off, you can see it frees up a ton more space for me. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and start pulling off our springs and see where that gets me. So I will be back once I get these off. Alright you guys, so I got my original shoes off. They're right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and work on pulling off our wheel cylinder. The adjustment here actually is still in pretty good shape. And it was fairly surprising to me. And I mean, I already loosened it up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to tighten that back up. But since I didn't have any, I didn't have to reuse any of the parts, I just took a pry bar right up here and I popped the shoes off with one quick motion. And if you have to reuse the springs or you plan on reusing your wheel cylinder, I wouldn't suggest doing that. But since everything in here is getting replaced, I just went ahead and did it an easy, simple way, and it worked out for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting this off now. So it looks like in the back, what you would want to do is take off your brake hose. But as you can see, I think, the brake hose from this truck is dry rotted and broken. So I'm gonna need to replace those too. So I don't have to take those off now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm gonna figure out what size the nut is back here, which it looks to be about an 18, maybe a 17, and I'm gonna go ahead and break this bolt loose and pull this old wheel cylinder off. So I figured out how to get our wheel cylinder out. It has this piece, which is our leader screw here, and it's also where our brake line hooks in. And as you can see, this brake line was broken. It's just from sitting. And if you guys are curious, this is what one of the old brake lines look inside of the rubber coating. It looks almost like a cloth line, but it has a steel lining inside. So this bolts on to here in this orientation. So you have to remove this piece, and then it is a 19 millimeter bolt or a nut on the back of this wheel cylinder. And this wheel cylinder actually took a fair bit of beating to get it off, as you can see by the marks on the top here. But now that all of that's apart, I'm gonna have to reuse this piece here, but I can go ahead and start getting our new wheel cylinder and brake parts into this assembly. So we're gonna go ahead and start doing that. I gotta place our guy back here. Like I said, I'm gonna have to tighten this up, but I won't be putting the drum on today because I'm gonna have those turned at a place that'll do the drum turning. So for now, we're just gonna go ahead and slap everything else together, and hopefully it looks a lot better than the original shoes from 1974. So I'm gonna start by slipping our new wheel cylinder into its home, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and put our nut on the back right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and spin that on hand tight for right at this very moment, just so you guys can get a little bit of a view of what I'm doing. So then we're gonna grab, if I don't drop it, our 19 millimeter socket. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it on my ratchet. And I am going to go ahead and tighten down our new wheel cylinder. Alrighty, so now that that's tight, I'm gonna grab the piece we need to reuse off of the old wheel cylinder. Now, it doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape. I can see through it, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all our pieces with some brake parts cleaner. Alrighty, you guys. So I got our wheel cylinder in. I tightened it with my 19mm socket, which it slides in, and then there's a bolt a nut right back here. And then I had to reuse a piece of the old wheel cylinder, which it goes in right here, and it comes out, and on the back of it is our bleeder screw, and then it Y's off, and it's where our line comes in. So I reused that piece. I cleaned it up with brake clean, made sure it was all good and will flow right. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my 14mm wrench, and I'm going to tighten up that piece I had to reuse, which shouldn't take me too long. It is quite long, the bolt is, but it threads in, especially on our new part, it's threading in really nicely. And all of these parts I have, they are from Bestos, I think it's pronounced. Let me grab a box here. Right here. So, I think it's Bestos. I'm not 100% sure. I know they're Italian made pieces, and they all seem like they're very great quality. They go in nice. I haven't had too much of an issue so far, and everything seems to line up and look the same as the original. Because finding parts for this truck was quite a bit of a pain. But we're gonna go ahead and tighten this up, and I am going to begin to try to put our new shoes on, which I gotta make sure I grab the right ones for the front. And once I am done and ready to put my drums back on, I will clean everything off with brake clean one last time. But like I said earlier, the drums are off getting turned, so I do not have them at this very moment. They weren't in too bad a shape when I got them, but they could have, like I said, they needed touched up. They needed fixed a bit. So we're gonna go ahead and first off, I'm gonna retighten the adjustment after I get the new shoes on. So I'm gonna grab our shoes from over here. All right, so I looked around and I did find out that our PG, or our 405 PG is our front shoes, and 406 PG is our rear shoes. So now what I'm gonna do is make sure I grab the ones I need, which is this one here, and let's see, this one, nope, this one. So now that we have those, let me go ahead and start by popping my springs on here. So a red one goes up top here, and I may be doing this the wrong way. If you guys have a better way to do it, feel free to share it with me. But for now, this works for me. So, at least I hope it works. Alrighty, so there's our springs. So we're gonna go ahead and try to attempt to squeeze these guys on down here. Oh, and our adjuster turned. Alrighty, so I ended up getting my new shoes on, and it was just user error. I forgot to loosen our tensioner up down here. I thought I did, because I thought it loosened like the old Ford trucks did, but I was wrong, so I ended up having to loosen this, and then the shoes went on pretty much no issue. So now I'm going to go ahead and hook up our last spring here. Should just slide, oops, wrong end, nope, I got the right end. Should slide in right up here if I can find it. Yep, right there. And then I grab our needle nose, and this really isn't the ideal way, but it works. So there we go. I got this side, got our new wheel cylinder and our new shoe set on. So now I'm going to go ahead and slip our hub back on here. And then, of course, before I go ahead and, put everything back together on this truck, I am probably going to pull these bearings back out and re-grease them. But for right now, just to get it together for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and put it back together right now. Just for demonstration purposes. I will end up re-greasing these bearings, but for now, I think we're doing A-okay. I mean, they sound good, they spin good, so they might not need it, but I think it'd be safer and better if I just did. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these. You're supposed to tighten them until there's a slight bit of resistance on the hub, which there you go. They don't need to be super tight, they just need to hold it on. We have a retainer ring here, which goes on over top of our nut. And then I gotta grab our cotter pin, which, if I can find it, I know I set it right over here. Oh boy. Well, as soon as I find it, now that we have our cotter pin, gonna go ahead and move our retainer clip just a little bit and slide this guy in real nice and easy like that. And then I'm just gonna take my hand and rotate and bend that guy up. So there's that, and I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up by taking our bearing cap and just plopping it right on. So there you go. That is how you rebuild a front brake on a 1974 Datsun 620. Now the other side would be a direct, same thing as this, same process, it's just the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead, and that's probably gonna be it for the night. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.